Good morning and welcome to Armanino's webinar, Global Consolidations Made Easy for Multiple Entity Businesses. I'm Kathy Hawkins and I'll be your moderator for the session this morning. Let's go ahead and take a look at a few details using your webinar pane. Please click on the orange arrow to expand the pane if you would like to present some questions to our presenters, and we will address those questions as time is available at the end of the presentation. Additionally, to get the best audio quality possible, please make the proper selection, telephone if that is your vehicle of choice, or microphone and speakers if you are using your computer. Now let's take a look at our presenters. First, we're going to introduce Scott Schimberg. He is a CPA and CMA and a director here at Armanino. He has worked in several companies with international presence and has worked in multiple entity businesses for several years. So we're very pleased to have his experience on our webinar this morning. Welcome, Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning. And also joining us is Lindy Antonelli, who's also a CPA and a partner here at Armanino. She has worked with this accounting software for several years, and Lindy is probably best known for having founded the Cloud Accounting Institute. Welcome, Lindy. So let's go ahead and take a look.
Hello, everyone.
Let's go ahead and take a look at our learning objectives so that we're clear on where we're headed this morning. First, we're going to look at recognizing how to consolidate financial data across multiple entities and global locations. We're going to streamline multinational accounting by eliminating manual spreadsheet-based reporting. We're going to review custom reports that address industry and location-specific needs. And we're going to watch a demo of real-time data consolidation with Intac. So with our focus for the session, let's go ahead and get started. And we're going to do so by turning it over to Lindy.
Thanks again, Kathy, and hello, everyone. Welcome to our session today. So if you're considering going global or just researching options, you may not be experiencing these issues yet, but for those of you who are living in that global multiple entity world already, you know some of the pains that you're already seeing here with that you have silos of processes. The distance creates issues between offices, of course, with time zones, currencies, exchange rates. That all complicates this area as well, and generally there could be language barriers. All these result in delays of gathering information, potential errors, and difficulty to really make sure you're standardizing your data properly. So some of you are facing those challenges today. Well, next slide, please. If and so which one are you? If you're, as I said, a single company today considering going global, considering adding locations, you might actually have branch offices today. You could be in this multiple entity situation where you're using the same accounting currency, meaning you're all U.S. based, but you have multiple legal entities. That'll create some problems as well. And then sort of the area on the right with the multiple entities and different accounting currencies is really the most complex from an accounting, and reporting perspective. So I've got some examples of the different operations now. So this is what a domestic business operation, might look like, with, you've just got all branch location, branch offices type of things, but you're still trying to gather financial and operational data. Today, maybe they're each using their own accounting software. Maybe they're trying to log in to an on-premise system using a VPN, or maybe you're emailing QuickBooks files back and forth. We've seen all kinds of different scenarios with this sort of in the domestic world. And then if you are a multiple entity but operating within the U.S., on the next slide, you might be facing some of those other challenges with, you're most likely at this stage using some kind of VPN or login, using the internet to help standardize. But you're still probably having issues with those inter-entity transactions, with processing payments between offices, cutting checks, and just rolling up and consolidating your data. And, if you have a global business operation, you're going to have multiple currencies, you're going to have multiple locations, you're going to have those time zone issues, and, you're probably dealing with complexity in foreign currency exchange rates, also maybe, sales tax and other, localization issues with the local governmental environment. And, so we're going to talk to you today, if you go to the next slide, about how Intact and Armanino will enable finance to really drive huge results for you in automating, improving your close, so automating that consolidation and reporting process, giving you true and real visibility to better run all your business units, allowing you to more easily adapt to change, so with those changing business requirements, either in a U.S. base or an international world that you might be playing in, and really the freedom to choose the best solutions for each area of your business. If you're a software firm or you're a manufacturer, or you're a services-based business, you can pick your front office solutions to match your unique business area, but choose the back office, best-in-class financial accounting solution to help finance and accounting really drive productivity and visibility. And then, of course, Intact is a cloud system which really does have a lower risk, improved productivity, and therefore leading into a real return on investment. So we're going to show you that today. And if we go to the next slide, I'm going to turn it over to Scott, who's going to talk a little bit more about the global consolidation solution in Intact, and then he's going to give us a demo today live on the system. Scott?
Yeah, so thank you, Lindy. So really what we can do and set up within the Intact system is having this central or localized process. So for example, you could have multiple offices. They could be branch offices. They can be set up as legal entities, and you can still maintain that centralized local processing for your accounting and back office. So kind of think about that around, like, how do you automate and expedite the process around accounts payable? So having all of your AP getting pushed into one centralized location, having one accounts payable department process the transactions regardless of which entity it is, but having that capability to process it, manage it, and have it move forward is very valuable to a lot of our clients. And one of the things that we'll see is, across the organization is being able to get consolidated reports. And a lot of people think, well, that's great, I can get a financial statement that's consolidated for our entities today, but let's extend that. Let's talk about the accounts receivable aging, the accounts payable aging, and looking at it from multiple entities. Today we see a lot of our clients having to go in and pull that data from one system after another and then manually having to consolidate that up. Within Intact, we could do that all within one system, and it's just a matter of identifying which location or combination of locations that we're pulling that for. So that really gets into that centralized processing that we have. So Intact's going to share a chart of accounts, which is huge in terms of automating and standardizing the reporting and making it easy, having that single chart of accounts for all locations. And then hitting it from a standpoint of having the same customers and vendors and items or services that are being sold, and having that maintained from the system really enables that standard reporting that comes through. So for example, in this case, you can have a multi-entity international company, but you're leveraging that same chart of accounts, that same customer if you have national or corporate customers, same with vendors and the services. But even more so, you can then also have location-specific vendors and customers as well, and be able to report off of that. So you'll be able to make the determination of whether you share that information across the organizations or it's held specific only for an individual location. And the Intact system works well in terms of being able to identify that information, but also enable that consolidation process to go through even with some of those minor changes. So we're going to go through and talk about how to automate that intercompany due to, due from, and you can have a currency conversion as well with that piece of it. And that's really going to get into that consolidation process. So I'll show an example of processing an accounts payable bill in the system, and the simple and ease that you can use one bill, say for example, something as simple as insurance expense, where a lot of times a company will have that insurance expense at the corporate level, and they want to post the bill and pay for that and have it allocated out to the other entities. And you can do that real simple and easy with the Intact system. And so really what we'll see is having that processing of transactions and having that cash go out. And you can do that in either one currency or multiple currencies. It depends on how you have your system set up and configured. And then Intact will, of course, maintain that foreign currency gain loss. It'll do the spot conversions for it. It'll do the historical conversion rate for certain balance sheet accounts. So it'll really manage that not only from a transactional standpoint, but also a reporting standpoint as well. And then we'll get into a little bit around a demo. If we go into we'll switch screens here from a PowerPoint deck into a demo environment. And what we have here is we're showing the actual Intact system just logged in, and I'm logged in as Carla, who is our controller at this organization. And Carla's dashboard that she has up is a consolidations dashboard. And in this consolidations dashboard, she has a European consolidations that's consolidating it in euros. And we'll see a lot of our clients will have maybe a variety of different financial statements that they need to do, either from a consolidations aspect of a certain territory or range of entities, and that's done for some of the tax considerations or just the reporting legal structure that they have set up, to even a consolidation aspect of it from a capability of a global piece of it and pulling it all in together. And you can do it in we've really just describing this as showing, in this case, on the top report, it's in euros, and in the bottom, we did something kind of a little unique that we see every so often, but instead of it being just in US dollars, we put it in the Norwegian NOK, the chrono piece of that, so that we could kind of really show that you can get reporting in any currency that you would like. There's an automatic integration tied in with Intact and Owanda to be able to pull up the exchange rates, and that's how when you run your financials or you consolidate, it automatically pulls that information in right away. And so the one thing that we'll go into is just a consolidation view. And so I have my consolidation piece of it up, and it's really leveraging the euro piece of it. So you can have kind of that reporting structure of the multiple entities coupled with an elimination entity that comes into play. There's a very simple process of defining the book setup. As part of the setup of each of these entities, we go in and we map in the due to, due froms for it, so that intercompanies transactions, when we cross over an accounts payable bill or an accounts receivable bill, it automatically will know the due to, due from for those entities and how that comes into play. So just kind of a little bit of a view of being able to pull this together from that. The one thing that it'll do is when I go into the consolidation view, the nice piece within Intact is when I pick my book, and I can have multiple books and I can consolidate and report off them at various times. To consolidate, I literally can come in, click on the checkbox, click on consolidate, and it is that fast to go through. It'll go out and confirm in the exchange rates, click on the consolidate now, and it'll go out and update that information and perform that consolidation. It gives a nice visual of the success or failures by the highlighted of the green, so you know if you've consolidated. And one of the great things about this is you can create a schedule to have it consolidated. If you want to get a snapshot of your business in the middle of the month, you can consolidate in the middle of the month, and it takes just seconds. I just consolidated it that fast. And then to get into the reporting pieces of it, you can have some of the basic reports. And here's the cool thing about it. We can have our financial statements, very similar to our dashboard. We could attach these to our dashboard, or we can run them individually. And I can run it for all of my locations that I have, or for a specific location. In this case, I'll just take the standard report for this grouping and have it show through of my transactions that are in here. It'll also pull in, now this report's in euros, but if I go to my UK company, then my UK company is in the reporting, its functional currency is in the GBP, or the British pound. And what we'll see is an auditable trail that shows in the consolidation entries of what currency did it come from, to what currency did it go to, and it'll even tie in if I drill into that transaction, it'll tie in how did I come into that currency and the exchange rate that was applied for that rate right within the system. We've found that the auditors really like this process. By creating those journal entries and creating that consolidation, it makes it very easy to have that audit trail of how did the number come, how did it get pulled in, and what rate are you using. Likewise, and I've shown a couple balance sheets, but you can also get the same thing in financial statements or on the income statement and be able to pull that through. In this case, I've pulled in a very simple report that's showing third quarter, comparing it to fourth quarter on a side-by-side basis so you can get all of your information. Again, having that complete ability to do drill down or capability. And the intent of showing this is that you can have as much detail or as little detail as you would like on the reports and be able to get side-by-side comparisons. You can define this. You can also create budgets and have budgets getting reported in this capability as well. And the nice thing about it, of having it in different currencies, by having the different reporting, I've seen this work out really well with operational people that maybe the head of your European operations can really understand it if it's in euros, or maybe it's in their local currency, but then when you talk to the executive team in the U.S., you want it in U.S. dollars so it's comparable to the other entities. You can really define your reports to start reporting in the different currencies so that it's meaningful impact to those individuals making the decisions. And that's a piece of it that's really unique to the Intact solution. A couple things that we touched on earlier is really that aging report. And so here's an aging report, and to kind of show you how that works is I'll go ahead and run it. I can pick any currency that I want. So for example, this is in euros, but maybe I want it in US dollars. I'll go ahead and just leave it in the euros. But I can also identify which locations or which customers or which locations or companies that I want. So maybe I only want it for the Germany company or the France company. I could do that, or I could have it consolidate for everything. Coming from a high-growth, venture-backed organization, this report would be extremely valuable when there's any like venture debt or banking debt where they want to look at your consolidated aging around the world process. Having one piece of it that goes through and does this is a huge time saver at the month end and meeting those bank covenants, particularly for those high-growth organizations that don't necessarily have a big infrastructure of finance people. And so you can do that both on the not only on the customer aging, but also on the vendor aging as well. That works out really, really convenient. Okay, so that's how the consolidation piece of it works. We'll now go into, and I'll show you a couple capabilities around like the accounts payable and the ease of being able just to tag, if you will, the different locations and how that process works. And so I'm going to go into a vendor bill that's here. I'm going to go ahead and select a vendor bill and kind of just show you that as we go in and enter in the vendor, the bill, you could identify the currency that you want to pay. that in. So if this were to be US dollars or maybe a different currency, that would be okay. It will, again, connect out to the Owanda and pull in that exchange rate as of that date. So it posts it to your system in the correct currency. So if you're a US dollar-based company, it will post, and you're posting a euro transaction, you could go ahead and post that euro transaction or bill and have it post over to your other entity. And in this case, the real simple type thing of an example of just posting out health benefits costs of it and allocating out to the different locations. In this case, it's benefits for the finance department, and the company is going to the U.S. South, and in this next case, it's going into the U.S. West. And by that simple piece of it and posting it, it'll show up on the aging for the U.S. West. It'll show up with an aging of $150 if you were to run an AP aging. That U.S. West could actually pay that bill if you wanted to. We have some companies where the local subsidiaries, for whatever legal reasons, need to pay for their own bills, and they go ahead and pay that bill. Likewise, or you could do it and where one or the other company pays for the entire bill. And through the system of the back setup of it and the configuration is that it maps out the due to, due from automatically. And that due to, due from comes in right here when we create an entity. So adding in new entities is a very simple process. It is to go into the edit. We'd set up the entity ID, the name, the currency, that's the base currency for it, and then map in the due to, due from that would come in for those entities. And you could map in specific and say this entity can only trade with this other entity. So you could define how those relationships work and how you're pulling that data together for you. So it's nice controls that come into play, work really well. Likewise, talking about just user access or capability of getting into the system, you can set up users and user setup to log in maybe at the top level where you can easily get access to any one of the entities, or you can have it set up where they can only log into their specific entity or a couple of entities that you want them to work in. So we have clients with 70 to 100 entities that come in, and they may set up certain users to have access for only those entities that they're doing the work in. And that works really well from a control standpoint that they're able to maintain that user access, but also let certain individuals in the consolidations department pull all of that data together and pull that data through the system. And although we focused quite a bit on the AP side of it, we could do the same activity level and the cross-charging on revenue as well and get the same level of reporting or consolidation reports from that aspect of it. So it's really a rich system that allows both the capability of revenue coming in and being able to spread across entities as well as the cost side of it as well, and then being able to consolidate that up very easy. And I think the big call out to me is it's not just like a FASB 52 consolidation process, but it's also getting that aging report. Those are huge time savers at the end of the month from that standpoint. And we'll go back to our PowerPoint deck and go through a couple more slides. Great. And just as an example, you can really have, just as a final wrap up on this, you can really have multiple entities and multiple locations and kind of have that consolidation and roll up of those legal entities into their areas. So it's very helpful, very robust system that works for a lot of our global customers. And then just to kind of wrap up the process of really having a cloud-based solution that has a good fit for international capability and businesses, we've just found that it really works well for our international companies, particularly in that technology sector piece of it, but it's really for that company that has some level of international exposure. And we're finding a lot of companies, all sizes, really having that change of business dynamics where they're becoming international much early on in the process. So we see very small companies have big company issues, and Intact's a good solution to solve those.
Well, thanks, Scott. If you want to go back to the previous slide, Kathy. So I just kind of wanted to put some other thoughts around and kind of tie the demo that Scott did together, and take the example of that consolidated AR and AP aging. I mean, particularly for high growth venture-backed companies, wow, what a super good feature. It gives real visibility, into your future cash position, and easily does that as well. Automates that process and gives you and your stakeholders that real visibility. And then the concept of the shared chart of accounts at Intact will organize and coordinate your data, will make it easy to extend into other legal entities or other areas of the world by having a consistent methodology for rolling out new entities. And then, the automatic do to, do from as part of that consolidation process gives you that tight audit control that you really need as a fast-growing international business. So, I hope that you gathered from us here today, the automation, the visibility, the changing requirements and how we can adapt, and really how Intact is the exact fit for your business if you're a growing, multi-entity consolidated type of entity. And you can count on Intact for lowering the risk and really giving you a great solution to increase your productivity and get a true, real return on your investment. So we could open it up now to any questions. If you guys have any questions for Scott or I, that would be great. So Kathy, do you type those in, or?
Yeah. So
or can they raise their hand?
Yeah, Lindy, we have one question. How long does it?
Okay.
How long does, I'm reading it off the screen. How long does it take to deploy the Intact system?
Okay, that's a great question. I'll start out, and then Scott, you can add.
Okay.
I think it depends if you want to start in phases. Most of our clients that are on, they're either on QuickBooks or some other legacy system when they're going to Intact, and our typical cycle is about 3 to 4 months. We see, could be a little bit shorter if you're going to go real basic and Intact to start. But if you're looking to get to a point where Scott showed you today with the consolidations and the the multi-entity kind of concept, it's probably around 3 to 4 months. And but we always start in phases. And Scott is the head of our delivery, so he heads up all of our consultants on the implementation process. And I mean, Scott, would you say that a lot of our clients go with this phased approach to implementation?
Yeah, they do. They do take a phased approach, and we'll see that come in of get the replacement of the QuickBooks, get or other system, get that change set up so they can automate that information, get access to it, and then they'll look at expanding that as their business grows as well. So, a lot of our clients are also in that high growth mode, so their business is changing as well. So it's just we're kind of enabling the systems to grow with their organization. So that works out well.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. So any other questions out there from our audience? Anything else that we want to address? Lindy, do you have any other questions on your end?
No, that's it.
Okay. All right. Well, special thanks to Lindy and to Scott for giving us that in-depth information about Intact. I have to admit, I learned a few things there, and there was some good information about how you could use this, especially for multi-level entities, multi-entity businesses. So up on the board, we have Lindy and Scott's contact information. Please feel free to reach out to either of them if you have some additional questions, or if we did not take a moment to address your question here today. There is an email contact as well as a direct phone number. So thank you very much for joining us today, and we look forward to having you on another Armanino webinar sometime soon. Thank you.